In this quick video, I am going to show you how to paint 4 different colors in the same wash. So obviously I'm doing it wet on wet because otherwise I would have loads of hard lines everywhere between the colors, which I don't want to do. I've wetted half of that leaf and I'm using a big brush. I'm using a number 12. So that's a very big brush. So there's loads of water on there, and I'm just turning the page in all directions to make sure that the water is evenly spread everywhere. Now, if you look at it when it's shiny and you find a place where maybe you think you can add a bit more, then you can do that. And then again, just spread it very well. And if it pools anywhere, just take a clean cotton cloth and just absorb a little bit, because you don't want any pools. And obviously, whichever direction you settle in at the end, this is where it's going to gather. So it's very wet, but there's no pool anywhere. There is a little bit of surplus water, which is why I've absorbed it, but it's not enough surplus water to break the line. So when the water, which is on the wet on wet, reaches the line where the paper is dry on the other side, because of the water tension, it doesn't cross that line unless you have a huge amount of water. So although there's a pool on the edge there, it's not going to cross that line, and the paint will behave in the same way. So as long as you have dry paper on the side of the line, you should be fairly safe. It's not going to drip across that line. You would need a lot of water for it to drip. And my easel is at an angle, so my paint tends to pool at the bottom here. And I'm going to follow that leaf that I have here in front of me, doing the left side, and I'm going to use 4 different colors in the same wash. And now I've got a brush number 4, so it's a much smaller brush. I've got carmine to start with. Which I'm going to add at this end. The carmine will also be on the other side. And I'm following the same line as my shadow, which is underneath. And you know, how far the carmine spreads isn't really important, because I've got a leaf in front of me to copy, but if it was a different leaf, it would spread further. So don't be too hung up about how far the color's going. Then I've got a little bit of red going in between the veins as well here. So I'm going to add that. And you can see that the water is following where the paint is following where the water is going. So I'm not going to have any particular logic to where the color is going. What I don't want is a hard line. I still have a bit of a pool of water here. By turning my page that way, I make sure that the pool isn't too big, because here, even if it goes, the water gathers here, it's going to follow gravity. It's going to go to the lowest point. So it's actually easier to gather it with the cloth just at the lowest point here, rather than doing it this way and having all along the edge. My second color is Perilene Violet, and that's going to go towards the tip in the carmine, but not spreading as far, so that in some places I've got both, but in some places I've got only one. And when you do a straight line, don't forget to breathe. And again, the water is still gathering a little bit. I'm going to absorb some. Right, I've got two colors. The next one is Nickel Azo Yellow. And that's going to pick up where the carmine is left. And filling the rest of the leaf. Into the little stalk. Bit stronger in some places, so I don't necessarily want it to be even. I want some of it to be stronger. The tips of the serrations here are actually a bit sharper, so I'm gonna do them freehand. If you're looking at the rest of the tutorial, you can see that I've changed my drawing slightly, so I need to add serrations accordingly. Okay, and the fourth color is rich green gold, and that's gonna go on the edge here. And along the veins. So I can still go through the rest of the wash because my paper is so wet that I can work with those washes for a long time. And here I'm gonna do quite a strong highlight, so I still want a bit of color on it. The highlight's not white, but I don't want a lot of paint. And here again, I can use my brush to pick up the extra paint. I've got my cloth here. I'm picking up the extra paint and offloading it. On the cloth. So the brush just sucks it up, then puts it on the cloth, and then it's dry enough again, just damp, that it's going to soak up more paint. There we go, and that's 4 different colors in the same wash. Now I'm going to leave that to dry, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side, except there's a lot less yellow on the other side. But I've got to wait for this to dry, otherwise everything I've done here is going to bleed on the other side as soon as I wet it, and I don't want that to happen.